but I'm not a fan of the products. And, my way works and I'm comfortable with it, and et cetera. And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at is, okay, a way to scale what I do. So in essence, identify people, bring them on board. Probably 1099 is easier, but in doing so, then not unlike what you've done in the past, Don, is then, hey, how can, now that we've got this scalable capability, then turn on the marketing spigot.
Yeah.
And then now we're really kicking it in.
Yeah.
And I didn't go into a lot more detail beyond that with David yet.
Okay. Yeah, I think David, Rich really looks a lot like Generis.
Okay.
We could, in terms of the way the company is set up. And I made some notes the other night that, Rich, let me just run through these real quick. And then
Sure.
I want to discuss how David comes into the picture, because I think I can probably help you with speeding up the process of building a structure that has been used for a long time and works really well. The good part about it is I know the company dollar mix on the commissions, where this is what the company needs in order to function and provide the services that you need to hold on to these folks, just like we did at Generis, and for them to make enough money that it makes sense for everybody involved in the enterprise.
Yeah.
So I've made some notes that I wanted to just cover with you, and that is the Generis model is an independent contractor who works for you. You and I talked a little bit about they're using your brand, your operating system, and you're providing ongoing support for them. That's why they pay you the portion of the commission that comes, or the income that comes in the door, is so that everybody pays for what they get, if that makes any sense. The company dollar amount that you need to maintain in the company in order for it to be profitable for you is 40%.
Okay.
So if you can average out the blended rate of all the different commission schedules that you have, and the company can maintain 40%, then you're going to do okay. Now, why do I say that? I say that because Generis has been operating now for over almost 40 years. And when I got there, I changed the commission schedule. What they didn't recognize is they were earning about 20% company dollar. So I tried to move them to 40%. Got a lot of pushback from the consultants because they were already in that mode of making more money than that. They didn't like the new commission schedule, so we blended it for anybody that hired after a certain date got the new commission schedule. Well, I've got them operating now at about 30%. They need the 40 for it to be really profitable for the principals that own the company. Right now, that's one, Jim Shepard. So my suggestion is that and I'm happy to help you with that, create a contractor agreement at the 50% level when they first start, move up to 60 based on a certain amount of, and by the way, I'll send you all this so you don't have to worry about taking this.
All right. I was taking notes, so thank you.
Yeah, starting with 50%. Once they reach a certain production level, up to 60, then up to 70, then up to 80. And then the way we have it at Generis is they max out. They stop paying us, which is a little bit of a gift to get them over the hump of paying 50-50 with you when they first start.
Yeah, okay.
We've got some folks that once they pay us $150,000 in company dollar, then they pay no more than that. So now we have 47 consultants. We've got about 6 of them that have maxed out.
Okay.
6 of them at 150, that's $1 million right there.
Mhm.
You know what? That's enough. That's
Yeah.
enough for us to supply them with whatever we need to supply them. So working on a commission schedule and a contract, I think would be an important thing for us to do and to get that right, so that there is no chance of this being a try it till you like it and see if it works. We've got a lot of history there that we think we can bring to the table that will shortcut the success time frame that you need to be involved in. So the other thing that is needed here, David, and this is where David comes in, is a database, so that you can keep up with certain things, and those would be the consultants themselves, their personal information, contact information, those kind of things. And David's got that. The next thing would be a commission calculator. So when they do create a contract, that there is a calculation for the commission on that one based on where they are in the scale. That may be something you need to build on the side and then connect it to David's software application to house all of that. Then we need a client database. So we got a consultant database, a client database, and then just keeping up with in our case, it was churches.
Mm-hmm.
In your case, it's going to be businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And then a contract database, which is once we do a contract, each contract in our business had different parts of or contract conditions that had to be met. So keeping up with that contract and keep storing it so we can search for it and bring it up and see what we all agreed to is something that has to happen. And then we have to have some sort of a marketing strategy to help the consultants and give them a reason for you getting 50% of their commission, or
right.
in the end case would be 60% to them and 40% to you. So that's where David comes in with the software application that he has called Blaze, and he's going to show you that. I hope we have time to do that. And then the other database is a software application that he can show you also that can keep all those things that we just talked about. David and I have been friends and business partners in several businesses. Now he lives in the Philippines, which I'm sure he probably told you, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but we're still doing business like what we're doing right here, on Zoom calls and the sort. So that's why we are together. And David is really the technical guru. He is incredibly smart, uses this stuff every single day, and knows it better than anybody I have ever seen in my entire life. So that's kind of to let you know that I think that's where we are, and getting you up and running into something that wouldn't cost you an arm and a leg, and then slowly add services and add volume and that sort of thing that we can handle. It might cost a little bit more money to do those kinds of things, but you could start off slow and then move rapidly and offer what people are going to be looking for consultants that would connect with you and your team.
Question for you. Did you also look at the pricing scale that they would have to come in at that made it worthwhile for, them as well as Generis as well?
Well, where we brought all of the new consultants, because you have to spend more time with them.
Right.
and help them and work with them. How do you use the tools that I have? And then what we had to do is to help them to learn how to sell,
Mm-hmm.
how to offer our services. What are our services so that they know how to explain that, and then how to offer those and sell those. And then what does a campaign look like? What does a contract with one of your clients look like? And what do we typically offer them? What are the goods and services that are provided, and how to deliver those? Those are the things that you got to do for each one of them. And then they got to go and deliver. And then when
Right.
you deliver and we get a $50,000 or $100,000 fee out of it, then it goes into the commission calculator and calculates what their portion of that is at the production level where they are. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
We started
Okay.
them off at 50-50. We brought in $50,000. They get 25 and we get 25.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
It walked up the scale based on their production. Once they go to, like $150,000 in commissions, total commissions, then they go up to the 60-40 schedule. 60% to them, 40% to Generis. Then it's 70%, and then it's 80%. And then when they get to 150,000, they don't pay anymore. Now that doesn't have to be in your model. That's just the way Generis did it.
Well, I like the idea that gives them an incentive to do more and more to get to the milestone that says, hey, if I can get above a certain amount, then, I'm done at that point.
Yeah.
I think where I've got to work through is the work I do is in phases. So there's that initial assessment type phase.
Yeah.
And then after that is the ongoing 1 to 2 year, value increase phase, if you want to call it that. And therefore, the target marketing goes back to those clients that are of size that can pay the appropriate fee for this type of service. That also means when you take a 50%, you slice it in half, that's still enough to be quite attractive to, the outside consultant coming in.
Yeah. What is your typical fee?
Usually, so anywhere from the initial just start off today has been between, say, 10 and 20 grand.
Okay.
So it's not that big from there. But then what happens is you start hitting anywhere from 5 to 7,500 a month for the next year or so.
Okay.
Now, bigger companies, obviously, those type numbers are, they scale up because the level of complexity for the client, et cetera.
Sure.
So that's sort of where it is today. In what I would call I'd say this, I've been playing more in the lower mid market, but I've also got the activities going on and exactly what I do scales all the way up to the mid market as well, which is more of the ultimate target we want to get to in the first place.
Right. It sounds like your fees are similar to Generis. Sounds like you probably have an introductory assessment that you would do with somebody, or you could offer them. Look, before we go into a larger agreement with each other or more comprehensive agreement, let's do an assessment. Let's kind of see where you are and what you need. And then I'll provide you that for a small fee, pay you for your time and make you some money. We called that a generosity audit. So if you did some sort of an audit of kind of where you are, then you charge them about $3,500 to do that. You give them a 20 or 30 page report of what you found out. And then you provide them with an opportunity to say, okay, here's what I suggest we do. Here's the plan going forward. And this is what that cost. So they're not saying yes to a big deal. They're saying, yes, let's take an assessment. Let's look at where we are. Tell me what you feel about where we are in the process of trying to do what we're trying to do here. And then we move now next to the ongoing support, which may be coaching, or it may be a contract for a term period on a regular basis for you to provide goods and services for them along the way, which is what we did at Generis. We'd have a generosity campaign, and that campaign is, $55,000, and we'll let them pay it over a year or even 2 years in some cases if it's big enough.
Mm-hmm.
They just pay monthly payments on it, and we provide the service. Sometimes it was all front loaded in terms of the work, and then after that, it was more keeping up with them, calling them on a regular basis, maybe once a month, to make sure that they were on track and doing what they were supposed to do.
Yeah,
So
very close.
that's the back end stuff that I built for Generis and seemed to work pretty good.
Yeah, did you leverage David's tools for the actual, because for example, when I do the initial assessment, as I call it, that's really the foundation for all the go forward work.
Correct.
And there's other things provided, like today I bring in an outside party to actually do a valuation of the company.
Yeah.
But one of the nuances that I do today, and that's the thing I have to see if it's scalable, is my foundation for evaluating or assessing a company, as you can imagine, is not a one size fits all, because companies are not one size fits all. And so what I did initially is created a very comprehensive foundation, but then depending on the company itself, I'll run that foundation through multiple AI models to say, all right, based on this profile of the company, how would we revise the assessment? What do we pull out? Things like if it's a services company, odds pretty good they're not going to have a lot of patents involved. And one of the worst things you can do is talk with the business owner and say, well, tell me about your patents. And they're like, you don't understand my business. So one of the things I didn't like about all the other tools that I work with is as I update this and make it much more targeted for the company I'm working with, the ability to then upload that assessment into just basically a simple database.
Yeah.
That now they can go and do a ranking and says, all right, well, and again, what I'll do is each question will have a certain weighting, because as you know, owner involvement in a company is a much higher rating or weighting than, say, is your admin a key employee or whatever?
Right.
Bad example. But then what I'll do is a scoring mechanism for each question. So scores from like 1 to 6. Nothing's in between. It's not 1 to 5, so you can hit the middle, it's either up or down. And then over time, we've got a weighted average that helps us understand where they're coming in at as a company. And then in parallel with that valuation going on, because again, valuation companies will value the company primarily based upon the financials and use 3 or 4 different financial methods to come back with a value, whether it's a multiple or if it's discounted cash flow or whatever. But what I'll do is I'll take the scoring from the assessment and say, number one, will it sell at all? Because some things just, are deal breakers.
Right.
It won't sell initially. But then the other is based on that scoring, would it actually fall in that range of values? And then does that number match the owner's financial goals?
Yeah.
If it does, then it may be, hey, we did the assessment, let's take it straight to market.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then the outcome of that is the assessment that said these are the areas dragging down the valuation. That then becomes our ongoing agreement, whether it's a year or 2 or whatever, to address those areas. And then checkpoints along the way to say, have we moved the needle enough such that the revised value, so to speak, now hits their financial goal, and boom, now we've got
Right.
a decision, do we go forward?
I haven't heard anything that you've said that David can't build to provide you the tool to make you aware of where you are in the process, and also this weighted grade for
Mhm.
whatever you're trying to be sure that you've got, a real handle on. That those things, I believe, are very, very doable. David?
Absolutely. I do have a couple of questions. When this assessment is done, is this done by the sales guy, or is this done in-house? Does the sales guy bring the information in and then it's all done in-house? Then the sales rep finalizes the deal, or is that all done in-house also?
It's a good question. Since I'm the one doing all of it today, I'd say yes.
Does
But
that mean there are no salespeople? Are you the only guy? You're the guy
yeah,
doing
well,
everything?
I'm the only guy right now. I've
Okay,
got other resources I can bring in as subject matter experts. That's been the issue with the scalability is, you've got to be able, when you're doing this assessment, to be able to speak from a business and operations perspective to the owner.
sure.
Most salespeople, as we know. So in other words, what I've seen from some of the people that have attempted to do this is a pure checklist.
Sure.
All right, let's walk through, fill out this. None of them are successful. So I think where I'm headed with yours, I foresee a person, say an operations type person, maybe a COO type background, that would feel comfortable going through with an owner the assessment questions and the scaling, the ratings, and etc. Once they get that, then it's brought back at least short term to the home office that then says, all right, let's look at it, let's evaluate it. And then, yes, there's going to be a final production back to the business owner. But from a quality control perspective, have we addressed the things that need to be addressed, answered the right questions? Are there additional things that perhaps we should follow back up on? And then at that point, whether they produce it to the business owner, et cetera, short term, or they have, whether it's me involved or someone else can help provide it as well. That makes sense, Dave?
Absolutely. What do you feel is your initial business need up as it stands today? What would what's the next thing on your agenda to take care of? What department?
Well, I think in parallel, one is a tool that allows me to do the assessments, because I'll put it this way. I've used the tool. There are 5 or 6 different tools in the market that are promoted for people that have the type certification, et cetera, that I have. I've evaluated, I've used them, and frankly, when you look at the assessment questions, it sounds like it came from a software person, not a business person. So I then looked at them and said, all right, does the tool at least provide the ability to revise or enhance the assessment questions? Because like we said earlier, it's either not comprehensive enough, it's not targeted enough, doesn't make any sense. The second thing is the ability is, once you've captured this information easily enough to report on it, for example, and I mean, this is all very simple database stuff. Give me the those that scored a 3 or less. Those are going to be the ones that we really need to address on the ongoing, 12 to 24 month process. I finally canceled all of those. Well, the product that I did use was so cumbersome, I ended up having to do it all manually myself. And therefore I said, well, forget this. I can run my assessment stuff through, and I do 2 AI engines just so I bounce.
What are the engines? What are the engines you're using?
Chat and Claude.
Okay, so you built your own prompts.
Yes.
Okay. So, how did you develop your prompts? I mean, is it something you're self-taught at, or did you have a prompt engineer work with you to provide the prompts?
Self-taught. I'll tell you where it came in. The assessments again of the business, I didn't like any of them that I saw. The ones that came out of the certification type program were way too high level. I then expanded on it from my experience. And then I went through and pulled in 3 to 4 detailed assessments from private equity firms and investment banking firms that were doing due diligence. So they usually really drill in pretty deep when they get going. Took that entire set, and then I used the prompts to go back through the AI engine and say, all right, give me a comprehensive but not duplicative, and then scale it for small, medium, and large companies. And then that became my foundation. And then after that, that's the one that I feed back in and say, all right, well, here's my target profile company. Here's what we know about this company at this point. Therefore, use this particular foundation and revise it such that, we're comfortable that it's comprehensive, but make recommendations for things that ought to get pulled out.
So is it fair to say that you've already built the tool? I mean, it sounds like you've done a pretty good job of putting the tool, of figuring it out, which is exactly what I do. I mean, what you're doing is there was a tool out there that you used, you gathered the information, you took that information, you revamped your own prompt, fed the the original assessment in, developed your own prompt, received the output, took that output, evaluated it, redid the prompt a little bit, put it back in, and you come up with an end product. Am I close?
Well, yes, but here's the thing. When I then sit down with the business owner,
yeah,
the outcome of that, or the actual targeted assessment, I've currently got in Excel, just because I haven't loaded it up into another tool. And then part of where my goal is all right, well, if we assume that, because we can go down one or two paths. I can either have an AI generated with the same process we're talking about for each company that I work with. And in essence, it could be, okay, have a tool, export out in a CSV file, load it up into the tool, and that becomes the assessment for that particular company. But I've got to have it in such a way that I'm able to stay on top of 10, 15 of these companies going on at the same time as to where they're at on the assessments, who's got what, etc. I don't have that, and it's a very simple tool. I just don't have that tool in place yet.
So you're not using a CRM. Would it be considered a CRM tool?
Not really. I mean, I'm using HubSpot today for my CRM.
Okay, so how does HubSpot work for you? Are you satisfied with that?
For my needs right now, I've got email, Calendly, LinkedIn, my note taker, basically everything integrated into HubSpot. So it's working for the CRM piece, but
it's individual. It's an individual piece. You don't have any sales guys tied to it at this point. You're
correct.
The only guy in it. So HubSpot is a super expensive program once you start adding salespeople to the deal.
Yes.
Because what you're doing, you are absolutely duplicating yourself. If what you're trying to do is take yourself and duplicate it into 25 or 30 sales guys. How large of a scope of a sales team are you looking to put together, say, over the next 24 months? If you could.
Well, if we talk about, are you talking about sales guys, or are you talking about people that are actually
talking about guys like you, guys that you're going to train to be you, to get you whatever the end result is that you want into the headquarters, so that you get to make the decision, right? I mean, you are the decision maker once all the data, the primary data is in your lap, right? I mean, you're the one that would be coaching, consoling the sales rep. You're the one that's going to help. You're the one that's going to be brought in on the TO if the sales rep needs you with the prospect or with the client. So everything ends with you. Am I right?
That's where I don't want to end up.
That's today. That's not
Yeah,
where
that's
you
today.
end up later.
Right. The only way to get away from that is by duplicating yourself. You got to have the
Right.
tools and the automation to make it so that when you're bringing somebody on, because even though a guy comes in and gets to the 60% commission level, you're still he's still using your brand and all your tools. So you got to be, so your business is now a business of maintaining and supporting its sales force, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we did at Generis is that the salesperson and the servicing person, so to speak, the guy that they did everything. We helped them to find leads and provided them with leads to follow up on. They did leads of themselves and they sold opportunities. But they did everything. We were there to help them if they ran into a question or a problem or something like that. We did regular training on the component parts of the sale and the component parts of the engagement that we delivered. So that's how it was set up there. Now, it's not to say that you got to do it that way.
No, that's exactly what I'm looking for, Don.
Okay, if you can do it that way, that's the reason that the graduated commission schedule works so well. Because in the early stages, you're going to spend a lot of time with these folks.
A lot of time.
Get a piece of this, a bigger piece of this. Later on, they're going to be doing their own thing. And look, I'm going to raise your commission, and you're going to be working a little bit more on your own, using the tools that we have in the toolbox, and doing your own business, selling and servicing whatever you sell. And that's the reason for the graduated commission schedule like that.
Quick question, did your commission schedule reset each year?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. All right.
Now, we have a couple of conditions that if you had reached a certain level for 3 years in a row, that we wouldn't take you back to start all over again.
There you go.
So we had a calculation that said if you're at this level, we'll keep you here, because once they get to that 70 and 80% level, you got hands off. All you're doing. Remember, it's your our three things. I'm losing my place. Sorry, guys. I'm having one of my senior moments.
I think it's what structure.
No, it's I'll think about it in a minute. But you're providing the ongoing support,
right,
for them, and for that there is a commission schedule that is appropriate for the different levels of production that these people have.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, agreed. So I'm sorry, David. I go back.
So I just remembered what it was. It was brand.
Yep.
And then ongoing support was last. And operating system, which is all encompassing of all the things that you do. So it's brand, operating system, and ongoing support. Sorry about that. I'm getting old, and I sometimes I hit these little walls that it's like, okay, I forgot something very simple. It's like, what's David's name?
Yeah, well, I've already hit that wall.
So you're always providing that for what you get, and the more they produce, the more they get. So there's certain ways we can put a commission schedule together. You and I can get together and do that. And a package that we can offer you to say, all right, how do we do all of this stuff? talk to you about that later.
Okay. I think, David, to answer your question, I know that early on, I will be working with, because let me back up. There's a lot of people out there today trying to do what I do. And they're struggling really bad because of obviously the mix between marketing, selling, delivery, execution, etc. And most came from a certain perspective, like a financial background, for example. So people that may have been a former CFO, well, they're not going to be comfortable in operations and maybe HR and some of the other aspects that would be that would come out of the assessment. And therefore, they're really struggling getting, up to a certain amount of business. Now, here's the thing, and I guess it, stop me if I repeat myself. The entire ecosystem today of the M&A world points the business owner directly to the sale, because that's where everyone makes all their money at. They get success fees, the attorneys, bankers, everybody gets it when the business is sold. The thing is, there's only about 30% of businesses today that are marketed for sale that actually end up selling. So there's 70% that's not ready. That's my target market. Even worse, those that are family-owned businesses going from first to second generation, only about 20% of those survive long-term. So the percentages are horrible for these businesses, but when they go directly to the sale, nobody's worked with them over, well, hey, here's how much it would cost. I mean, here's what the value of your company is. Here's whether it would sell or not. Here's all the issues in the company. And therefore, the owners go in with an expectation of, hey, it's my baby. This thing's worth the moon. They find out it doesn't sell, so they don't know where to go from there. A lot of times they go to someone else to see if they could sell it for them, spending more and more on attorney fees and everything else. And then ultimately, after 2 or 3 times, they give up. And they shut down the business, sell it for pennies, hand it over to somebody else, and that's it. When the word has gotten out at what I do to the actual business owners, it's a very comfortable conversation, and they get it. 15, 20 minutes in, they get it. So that's the thing, is I've got the process. I've got some pretty good messaging. That's why turning on the spigot of the marketing is more, all right, can we find those people that if I follow them and walk them through the process, they're comfortable with it, which I think so. And then I provide the ongoing support rather than me being the primary point of contact. Did that clarify anything at all?
To a certain extent, so let me ask you this. Are you struggling? You said that the majority of the businesses out there that do what you're doing are struggling. Are you one of those people struggling? I mean, maybe not struggling at, you're struggling at something. What would it be that you're struggling at?
Well, I'll tell you where I'm at right now. It takes, or took, I'd say, a couple of years for the word to get into the market, to get into the referral partners, to get in front of the right people, to carry forward the messaging. I think I'm there now because my phone is ringing off the hook with people saying, hey, I got a business owner I want you to talk to. Okay. Well, I'm not as selective today as I want to be because I'm still not at full capacity myself, but I'd probably say I'm at about 60%, let's say. But I've got enough on the horizon right now that would push me to 120%. So I'm already looking and saying, wait a minute, we're on to something here that if I did any more than what I'm doing today on marketing and outreach and etc., boom.
Boom.
So
What
that's
does
probably,
boom mean? What does boom? I don't mean to interrupt. If you don't mind, I apologize in advance. When you say something and I
Yeah.
catch it, I really, my mind is, I'm 70 years old myself. Okay. And, when I need to know something, I'm kind of rude and I interrupt and I
no,
apologize.
you're not rude at all, man. We're
Boom.
three P's here. Don't you worry about that at
Okay.
all.
What's the
Interrupt,
boom?
ask.
Tell me what
But
the boom is when you get to that boom, because I want to know what I'm trying to find out here is you're telling me that your pipeline is basically full. You've got about 60% capacity already with your pipeline incoming business wise. Am I correct? Or did I misunderstand?
well, I'm at 60% with existing clients today.
So
Okay.
existing clients, what is that? What is that? That's a client. An existing client is somebody you're working with to get their business sold, or that you're working. Is
Get
that
it ready to be sold.
Yes,
Rich,
yes, I'm sorry. Good clarifications. Existing clients that I'm working with through this process so that we get to a point where their company is ready and prepared to be sold. All right. So I'm at 60% capacity with those existing clients today. If
okay?
that makes sense.
So
Okay.
you're you're 60% in process of what
Yes.
in process period with clients.
Yes.
Okay.
The
Out of that
thing is,
60%, how much, how between, what's the, what is the time frame? I'm figuring about 2 years is what you said, a year, 18 months to 2 years.
well, the process we set the expectation for, because we don't know where they're going to fall into it until we do the initial assessment.
Right.
The process we set the expectation for is the best case scenario needs to be business owner needs to plan 2 to 3 years to actually sell it, complete a sale. Well, the thing is, the selling process itself, putting it on the market, going through, SIMs and NDAs and LOIs and due diligence, 12 months, say 9 to 12 months, take that off the table. So now to do what we do is we tell them anywhere from 12 to 24 months. I've got one client today that I went through the initial assessment phase and they looked so good. I said, we could go to market in about 3 months. Now, there's a twist to that, and I don't want to confuse. So again, I can't forecast it fully until we do the assessment that we go through.
Is
And some of them
entirely in HubSpot in a pipeline? The 1 year or 2 year, is it a pipeline inside HubSpot right now that you're running?
I'm not running those schedules through HubSpot.
You're not running
HubSpot's
a
more
pipeline. You're just running, you're using pipeline as, HubSpot is nothing more than the CRM,
today, yes.
right? So,
and
you
by the way,
Go ahead.
just as a point of reference, Generis bought, used, and supported HubSpot, and they've been operating in that for about 4 or 5 years now, and they're in it and they can't get out.
right.
Yeah, I mean, once you're deep into it, there's so much history there, and
Yeah.
if you cancel, you can't take all that information with you. You take your client information, just the basic name, address, phone number, telephones, but you can't take all the rest of that activity, which is the heart and soul of what you're trying to collect. So, and Generis is spending over $100,000 a year in fees to them because of the size of the database that we have.
Mhm.
And so finding something that is much more affordable that will provide you probably 80 or 90% of what HubSpot can do, I think is something that you should think about. And I
Yes.
believe that is something that David can offer you.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. With that, I've run companies before that have used HubSpot, and I did. Hey, HubSpot's not unlike Salesforce, right? They'll suck you in, but if you really want to spend a ton of money, bring in Salesforce.
Yeah.
That thing is, you have to have somebody custom trained to get everything out, etc. The only reason I started off with HubSpot is they did have a free version,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was able to upgrade some aspects of it for marketing purposes.
Right.
But I'm not sold and committed because all it is today is my customer database.
Yeah.
I don't have the operations, the assessment work and everything like that in there yet.
Yeah.
That's sort of my next challenge.
Yeah.
Because to give you an example, David, there's a company out there called Acquira. And Acquira tried to build a platform focused more on the buyers. And what they did is their thought was, hey, there's all these people with large sums of money in their corporate 401ks that are wanting to cash out and buy small companies because they're tired of the corporate world. So what they did is they developed a program to help teach these people how to be business owners, and then also help them search to find businesses to buy for a fee. Well, their marketing guy was very sharp, and they had a lot of other problems with the company, but they had some successes with identifying companies that said, yes, I'd be interested in talking with you about selling the company. And they were successful with that. Well, I spoke to the marketing guy, and he turned around and he said, Rich, I got like 10 businesses that have said, no, we're not ready to sell yet, but I'd love to talk to somebody that can help me get ready and tell me what I need to do to prepare it to sell. So right off the bat, that's 10 clients, prospects, not clients, that I know is out there that I could say, all right, let's work out a deal, send them my way, and I'll work the process. I couldn't handle 10 additional clients. That's sort of where my head, because what I'm seeing is it's out there and the opportunity is there, but how do we scale the process and identify people that I can bring in so I can make sure they're controlled in the process. So like Generis, you're going to follow our process. Here's our brand. And then I can help manage them through it, not being the feet on the ground.
And you need the tools to be able to maintain the information that is going to be required of you to be sure that your people are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that they're being paid what they're supposed to get paid, and that these prospects and clients don't slip through the cracks on communication from you, the company, and or the consultant that's got that particular contract.
Yes. And when you're talking with, part of the outcome of the initial phase is we call it a standard valuation, but it is uses minimum 3 to 4 different valuation techniques. It's a formalized document. So, when you're talking with a business owner and you're going through and you've collected 4 years worth of financials, you've done an adjusted version of the financials, you've gone through all of this with them, the outcome is, hey, here's where it'd sell for today, and here's all the outstanding items. That again is now either, hey, they can take it, the owner can take it with them and say, hey, we'll do it ourselves. Thank you very much. But in just about all cases, they turn around and say, I don't know how to fix all this stuff. Let you guys now, us, become the general contractor, project manager, or whatever, to start helping them correct those items. As you can tell, when you're talking about this, you're talking about some big dollar amounts for values of the company, potential resources to bring in, etc. It's got to be very professional, and I obviously want to make sure that anyone that's representing the brand doing this is also, very on top of what they're doing, just because of the data and the opportunities we're providing the clients.
This conversation this whole conversation right now from the very beginning all the way up to this point, am I clear that it's about you and the client, you and the prospect right now? Everything that you're shared with us is about you working with that prospect to take them through your process. And so what I'm hearing, or what I think I'm hearing, is that's your bottleneck. That's where your bottleneck right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is your thoughts about cleaning up the bottleneck? Because in the very beginning, I think that what you said was, I'm pretty sure you said this, that you wanted to figure out the development of the tool to make it so that you didn't have this bottleneck. We didn't use the term bottleneck at the time, but you wanted to figure out the tool that would be proper, because you're using two tools right now, and it gets you through everything, but maybe not to the standard that you want it to be. Am I clear?
Yes, your question. Yes.
Okay. So,
yes.
So
now I probably should say too, I do have a call in like 1 minute. I can either cancel the call, or, if we want to get back together, I know we went long on our meeting, but I did have one that.
No,
Rich, I was going to say to you, I have to leave also in about a minute here. So I think we probably need to get back together. David and I need to talk this afternoon, and let's be sure that we've got our thoughts in line in terms of what we might be able to offer. And then I know David is going to have several other questions about process and what it is you're trying to accomplish.
My mind's going a mile a minute right now, guys.
I know.
Yeah.
Listen, I know you well enough to know that it's going 1,000 miles an hour. So,
and here's the fun part. And then I'm sorry, Don, interrupted. You can say how excited. Here's the thing, and we're talking some larger dollars. A percentage of the clients today that have engaged me have also really pushed hard for me also to be able to take them to market.
Take what?
Take them to market.
Sell the business.
Sell the business.
Yeah.
Well, in doing that, now you're also getting a percent with the success fee.
And David, that's where Blaze comes in. As far as I'm concerned, if we built a package in Blaze to do what he needs to expose the opportunity of buying that kind of a business.
Sure.
I mean, he's probably going to have some salespeople that would be selling the business, not consulting with the business, but selling the business once it's ready to be sold. That's a whole nother
department,
a department of his company that can grow to a pretty large scale, I'm sure.
It's very attractive in the market right now, because they're saying, Rich, you've worked with me for over a year. You know my company better than I do. Why would I hand it off to somebody else when you could help me through all the negotiations? You could help identify the right buyer. You could represent the company well. You know the good and the bad. And that's attractive, obviously, because of the dollars that are involved. Nobody that I'm aware of is doing that today. So that's a little sidebar. If you see phase 2, phase 3 down the road, that maybe when we get back together, that's something that would be good to know. So,
all right, we'll let you off. I know you're late for your call right now. So let's get back together. David and I will talk. We'll send you a couple of dates. You can pick when you're available, and then let's start the conversation. And maybe we'll have some more in-depth questions to talk about.
Awesome. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate it, Dave.
Okay.
Pleasure to meet you. Get some rest. Talk soon.
All right, guys.
Wow.
He's off.
Yeah. Wow. I do have to leave to get to the contractor on time.
Yeah, go to the mountains. That's fine.
Let me tell you what I thought about.
Okay.
Is doing a 1 day, and for him, I'd add a half day with me, working with him on having or building a generous type contract for his consultants. But I would ask him to pay a $2,500 fee for a day and a half on site. I'll go to Houston and sit with him in his office for the whole day. We're talking, asking questions, filling out whatever objectives that you can add to the list of what we need in order for us to provide a plan and a strategy going forward, putting you on the call for a time period that's appropriate where you can do that.
Sure.
And charge him $2,500 plus expenses to come out and do the assessment.
Okay.
Just like what he's doing or what we're telling him to do, we do the same thing and do an assessment. And I'll get whatever I can get out of him. Because I think the long-term relationship is going to be more profitable. But because I think if he is going to sell something, Blaze would be a tool that he could use, if I'm thinking about that right.
No, I don't think you are, but tell me, I don't think you are, but tell me what your thoughts are. How do you see Blaze as doing what for him?
Creating a blog about the business, creating post about the business.
About the business, about his business, for him to generate business?
No. If he is going to get into the business of selling businesses.
Right. Okay. Then Blaze of marketing the business that he's going to sell.
That he is going to sell.
Okay. That will work.
Yeah. Building a landing page, just like you did with the cabin.
I understand that.
Yeah. Pictures of the business and the building and videos or whatever they've got that they've already done, packaging it all up together and putting together an incredible website for them to offer the business for sale.
Right.
And then posting it in places where it would expose that opportunity to buy the business, where people go to do all of that. So putting that package together and using those tools and AI to help to make it as today as possible, in terms of the way it looks and feels, and make it exciting and all that kind of good stuff, and create some prospects for him that are people that are going to want to buy that business, which is, by the way, another side of that business, not the selling. It's like a real estate office.
Exactly.
You've got a listing that you're going to promote, and then buyers are going to call, and you're going to say, well, if it can't buy that one, how about another one?
Right. Exactly. And
I don't think he's ready for that yet. I think he's way too unequipped to do that.
I'm very confused on where he's at, because, I mean, don't misunderstand, but to me, there's not enough. There was not enough juice there to make it so that I understood what is his. He needs two things. He needs a company usage to generate. He's got to find people to work for him. Number one, that's an avenue. Yeah. And he's got to have the tools that he has to have in place to get that to work. Is he's got to have his educational piece set up, which is actually now online called School. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's SKOOL. That's a software out there that creates classrooms for companies like this, where everything is there. Okay.
Stuff that I'm very familiar with all of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning. I attend a class called Surfer AI, and that's where I go to that school. And go to the mountains, get your stuff done, and I'll either talk to you later today or in the morning.
We should be back around 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I probably will be out. I'll be at 6 o'clock. I won't be around, but in the morning.
You just call me whenever you got the time.
Right, that's good.
It works for you.
All right, very good. Are you going to be home over the weekend?
Yes.
Weekend? Okay, no problem. All right, have a good trip today. Gabby going with you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Enjoy.
See you.
Have a nice lunch. Bye-bye.